Remove all doubt in anyone's mind that we will not have a reconciliation. We will have a reconciliation bill. That is for sure.
It is not some major cataclysm. If there isn't a vote today, mark my words, the infrastructure bill will be passed, and a version of the reconciliation bill will be as well.
We will not be able to vote for the infrastructure bill until the reconciliation bill has passed. So we're in the same place.
And it's a shame for that, because no two bills should ever be linked together to the point where you're going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Senator Joe Manchin there. At this hour, we are told that the House will not have any votes before 9 p.m. We don't know the status of whether the infrastructure bill is coming up, whether there's a deal on the reconciliation bill. We do know this. Joe Manchin laid down a marker today, and the Washington Post took note, saying Joe Manchin delivers a dagger to the heart of the progressive cause. They can huff and puff all they want, but they won't blow down the West Virginia Democrats' House because he correctly reads public opinion. Re-engineering the fabric of American life is modern progressivism's whole point. Its adherents believe that the nation is in crisis. Crises demand immediate and wide-ranging action, not incremental change or tinkering around the edges. Their ambitions, however, can only prevail in a democracy if they are supported by public opinion. That's where we are at this hour. Let's bring in our panel. Ben Domenech, publisher of The Federalist, Mara Liasson, national political correspondent of National Public Radio, and Trey Gowdy, former congressman from South Carolina. Mara, we don't know where this is going. We do know that it's going to be less than $3.5 trillion in the reconciliation bill if it happens.
Yes, it's definitely going to be less. I think we've known that for quite some time, but we just didn't know the actual parameters of the negotiation. And I think the big progress that was made today is that Joe Manchin said in public before a camera what he's been saying in private and actually on paper in this memo that he and Chuck Schumer signed, is that his number, top line number, is $1.5 trillion. He has some other substantive demands. He wants new entitlement programs, social safety net programs, to be means tested. He wants to roll back the Trump tax cuts, including carried interest. So he has a whole lot of things that he cares about. Now, he did not say that this was a hard and fast number and he wasn't flexible at all. He said, you know, we're going to negotiate. So somewhere between 3.5 and 1.5 is where they'll end up if they can get a deal among themselves.
And that's a big if, Trey. Listening to progressives saying, listen, we're going to vote against this, the infrastructure, bipartisan infrastructure bill, if we don't have a deal, a vote on reconciliation.
Yeah, Brett, I give credit to the progressives in the House. They watch very carefully as the Freedom Caucus on the Republican side proved that you can get a lot more famous opposing your own leadership than you can fighting with the other side. And fame has become the ultimate political virtue. I will say this, Jen Psaki used the word democracy, the Washington Post used the word democracy. Let's lay aside the fact that they tried to ram it through with a parliamentarian and put everything in one bill. Let's give them credit for liking democracy. You know, Brett, you and I won the same number of counties in West Virginia that Joe Biden did. And Arizona was less than 1/2 of a percentage point. So don't be lecturing Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema about democracy.
Speaking of Jen Psaki, she was asked about the White House potentially losing control of this whole deal today.
This is how democracy works. I know it feels foreign because there wasn't much that happened over the last couple of years, but how it works is the American people elect their elected officials. The President of the United States puts forward a bold and ambitious proposal, and then everybody negotiates about it. And they have different points of view. That's how democracy should work. We're in the midst of it right now. We're not trying to paint over how messy it looks from the outside. We know that.
Ben?
Well, we're not actually a democracy, just to point that out for a point of clarification. If we were, then we would be fine with majorities running pell-mell toward all of these types of extreme steps, even if they were the slimmest of majorities. There's an important reason, and the founders really believed in it, that we are not that way, and our government does not work that way. And that's why Joe Manchin is so important in this moment. You know, look, he reads politics very well, and not just in his own state, but in, I think, the broader broader dynamic. And I think in this moment, there ought to be a lot of critiques of the approach that Nancy Pelosi used. Because at the end of the day, she may have missed an opportunity to achieve a package that could be much more perhaps than what Manchin's number would be, but far less than what progressives are currently demanding. Taking the step that she did in terms of linking these measures together in a way that I think was politically unwise is coming back to bite her in a big way today.
You know, we always knew that Senator Manchin was going to be crucial in this whole thing. We've talked to him here on this show many times and asked him specific questions. Today, Mara, you're right, with the $1.5 trillion top line that he talked about. Right. Take a listen to this and reaction on the progressive side.
I guess for them to get theirs, elect more liberals. But I'm not asking them to change. I'm willing to come from 0 to 1.5. My top line has been 1.5 because I believe in my heart that what we can do and what the needs we have right now and what we can afford to do without basically changing our whole society to an entitlement mentality.
Which senator are we negotiating with? Is this June Manchin? Is it September Manchin? Is it August Manchin? Will December Manchin be a different, will this be a different senator that pops up?
It's actually July 28th, Manchin.
Yes.
That's the date of the memo.
That's right.
And it hasn't changed since then. But look, what he said was just basic facts. The reason Democrats are in this fix is because they have a gigantic agenda and a minuscule majority, and they failed to win the extra seats in the House and Senate that they thought they were going to win in 2020, that Republicans thought they were going to win in 2020. And that's just reality. And as Joe Manchin said today, I've never been a liberal. He's representing a state that Trump won by, 29 points? So, like that song in Hamilton, they don't have the votes, and they're going to have to compromise. And that's just the way it is.
Trey, you've seen this play before. And Speaker Pelosi has pulled rabbits out of hats legislatively before. We don't know what's going to happen tonight. Do you think she could cobble this together?
It depends. It depends on how many Republican senators continue to call Republican members of the House and ask them to vote for the infrastructure bill. So Kevin McCarthy has a job to do here, too, which is keep the Republicans coalesced. I love AOC's political strategy, which is insult the person whose vote you need. I just don't think it's going to work.
But let's take it on the flip side, Ben. What about those moderate Republicans who look at the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill and say, this is a chance to finally build that bridge, to finally fix that road that I've been talking about fixing to my constituents forever. Maybe I should vote for it. I mean, is the politics of the moment more important than the bridge at home?
I think that's a big question, but headed into a midterm year, delivery of that bridge is going to become less and less of their priority. And one more note on this, the kind of jabs that we've seen, not just at Joe Manchin, but today from some progressives at Arizona Senator Sinema, have really become more and more aggressive during this point. The idea said by one member today that she hasn't shown us anything but a designer purse. That's not the kind of insult that's going to go across very well with someone who's navigating a situation and who, last I checked, has 40% popularity among Republicans in Arizona.
And either one of them could become Republicans and changes the dynamic. You get Senate Majority Leader McConnell. All right, thank you all.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.